All right, guys. Lamb here with Madden Football Radio, joined with CJ, and we're just going to kind of dive into how to attack some of these defenses. We're not going to go too in depth, but just give you a general idea of what you want to look for, maybe where the weak spots are in these different defenses, and how we would approach attacking them. So let's jump into it. CJ, what do you want to start with, bro?
Let's take a look at cover one. Where's the weak spots in cover one, and what kind of routes would you try to use to expose a cover one?
Gotcha. Perfect.
And again, guys, this is one of those things that we're assuming you've already pre-snap identified that, hey, I believe he's in a cover one. Now, how do I exploit that? So that's what Lamb's going to show us today.
Absolutely. All right, so we're going to pick the same exact formation that we did earlier to keep things simple. That's 11 personnel. We're going to come out in our inside zone run play, which is my base play call. We're going nickel 2-4-5, which is a pretty common nickel defense. And we're going to start with cover one. And we're going with your basic cover one without a robber. So this is cover one. It's one linebacker blitz. Basically, it's a 5-man rush, single high man coverage. So we come to the line. We've identified it. You see the line. We're not going to go too much into in depth on all of that pre-snap, but we know, okay, it's a cover one defense, or most likely a cover one defense. The way I attack a cover one man coverage defense, CJ, is real simple. I'm working from the outside in. First of all, I'm looking at the depth of the corners on the far outside. Sometimes you'll come across a cover one where those corners will be right up on the line of scrimmage, and you've got a chance to go over the top. So the way I'm looking at this pre-snap, I say, okay, it's cover one. They're playing soft on the outside, get the safety up top. I'm going to try to attack this with a crosser. And the reason I choose a crosser here in this regard is because we know the field's going to get stretched with everybody already playing over-the-top technique. You can see that by the corners and the depth of which they're playing. So one of my favorite plays, and we'll keep it simple here, is this right here. Now, you notice the square on the left, right, CJ? He's running a post. I'm going to keep that in a post because this guy on the far outside has over-the-top technique on us. Okay, there's no chance of us going over the top in this play. But the fact that he's playing over the top, I might have a shot at hammering that post on into the play. You notice X is my safety valve, but my number one target is going to be triangle, which is this crosser. Okay, so to attack a cover one man defense, I'm going to use a crosser with a combination of either a streak or a post on the backside.
Perfect. So you're attacking more the middle part of the field? Is that one of the weaker spots on a cover one?
Absolutely. And if you'll remember, CJ, last year in Madden 18, you could hammer that out route against this defense. That's more of a realistic approach. Now, that could have changed with all the patches that have dropped this year. I just know at launch, that out route was so iffy. Like last year, we would do this right here, guys. We would hammer that, notice square is that 10-yard out route.
Yep.
And it would be open, which it should be. The corner's on an island. He doesn't have any safety help over the top down the sideline. He's got to protect deep. And as soon as his hips would flip, you could hammer that out route. When Madden 19 launched this year, which is the reason we're doing these videos, things changed. They would flip their hips and they would still be able to dive on the ball. Is it realistic? No. But you can't just sit around and complain about that when they pick it off every other play. You got to realize that doesn't work this year, and we need to change it up. So again, what I do this year is this play right here is out of this formation. This is my cover one attacker. I'm stretching the field. I've got the crosser. If I get in trouble, I can dump it to X. If the 5-man protection, actually it's a 6-man protection against a 5-man rush. If it breaks down, then the defense just wins that play. You got to live to play another down.
Yeah. So basically, running some post routes, slants, digs, those types of routes, getting exposed in the middle of the field. Those are some areas that's a weak spot in cover one.
Absolutely.
So we definitely want to look at that. I do have a question for you. They do say that in a cover one, sometimes the double moves work good. Do you use the double moves at all when you're playing?
I don't use any outside double moves. I consider a crosser a double move. It basically is. It's very simple. If you look at triangle's route, you've got a break on kind of like a skinny post or a slant, and then about 10 yards beyond that, he's going to make another move. So it's kind of like a double slant move. That's a double move. If that guy's on an island, if that first move doesn't get him, the second one will.
Perfect. All right. Well, let's move on. Let's take a look at a cover two zone. Where's the weak spot on a cover two zone, and how can we exploit that?
Now, this formation that I'm specifically highlighting, it isn't very good against cover two zone, but we're going to try to show you how I would attack it using this formation. And so this is if I see somebody running a lot of cover two zone, then I'm going to run a lot of spread sets out of that 12 personnel that we usually talk about. So let's go cover two. Let's go cover two hard flat. Okay, we come to the line. We recognize, okay, it's zone coverage. Both the corners are up at virtually the same spot on the field that you're reading our cover two zone. Let's go to that same exact play that we have. But guys, remember, I keep things simple. I try to break it down to where I don't want to have any question in the back of my mind where any of my players are on the field at any point. So I keep my play call very, very simple. This is something that I attack all defenses with. I just make adjustments at the line like some of the great quarterbacks do in the NFL. Now, coming up against a cover two, right here, I may send square on a streak, but if my user has been running a lot of cover two zone, I'm going to keep him in that post. And the reason being is because if for some reason this is a cover two defense and that free safety bites on triangle on that crosser, then notice as soon as square clears the far left corner, he's playing in that short zone, that curl to curl flat zone, then square will open up. So the read kind of goes to square and triangle. But another thing that I use on the far right, if you look at X in this delayed flat, when he breaks out, that corner is going to bite. I've got to read if that far right corner is going to bite on that flat. If he does, then I go to triangle over top of his head. If he doesn't bite on the flat and stays with triangle on the deep crosser, then I go to X. So what you're doing essentially, guys, is the way I attack zone defenses, I narrow it down to what kind of zone it is, and I pick one specific spot on the field to attack. In this case, I've got two options. I can attack the free safeties zone, or I can attack the right cornerback zone and he'll make a decision. So my read is free safety and right corner. Now that's assuming that the protection holds up. So that's how I would attack a cover two in this regard. If I were to run this play, see how that corner stayed in, so the crosser's there. Now that's because we called a cover two hard flat, CJ. If we had called a cover two sink, he would have dropped back and I would have went to the flat.
So if I'm catching what you're saying, is basically a weak spot when they're doing cover two zone is going to be kind of between that zone that the corner's playing and the zone that the safety's playing. So about 15 to 20 yards down the field on the outside is an area that you're targeting. Is that correct? With
this specific formation, absolutely. If someone is running a lot of cover two zone, I would much rather attack it in a different formation, and I would call it more often than this. But just for the sake of keeping things simple, we're using the same formation. This specific formation, that's how I would attack it. I'm attacking the safeties. I'm attacking roughly 10 to 15 yards off the ball, in between basically where the far outside receiver is, and in between where the first offensive lineman or the tight end is.
What about the middle of the field? Is the middle of the field open on a cover two zone? Or
Absolutely.
Is it pretty
With
covered?
specific formations, absolutely. Let me do that real quick. I'll keep it very brief. I'm going to show you what I mean by that, so people aren't going, I wonder what he meant by attacking the middle of the field with an empty set. 12 personnel. Okay, so this is showing a running set. Let's say that they know what I'm doing, so they're going to go nickel, which puts them at a disadvantage if it's a running play, right? But in this regard, it's not. So we'll go the same cover two hard flat. I'm coming to the line of scrimmage. I'm reading cover two zone. What I'm going to do here, CJ, in attacking the middle of the field, is I'm going to leave X down the seam, and I'm going to send R1 across the middle of the field. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get that inside linebacker to commit to X or R1, one of the two. We snap it. Here we go. He bites. We're going down the seam. That's because it's a cover two hard flat. Again, use possession catch too. Now, if this were a Tampa 2, let me do it real quick. I really think it's worth mentioning. Same set, same formation there. Let's say they call a nickel 2-4-5, and they call a Tampa 2. Tampa 2 means the inside linebacker covers down the seam if there's a threat. The way I'm going to approach this one, you can do a drag too. Let's do a drag to keep it simple. I'm looking at the mock. I'm looking at that inside linebacker. What's he going to do? Is he going down the seam or is he protecting R1? We snap it, flips his hips, goes down the seam. There you go. He actually kind of played right in between there. We probably could have hammered it over top of his head. That's some of the stuff that's happened with the adjustments from post-snap.
So what I'm seeing is basically the middle of the field is if you want to attack the middle of the field in a cover against a cover 2 zone, you're trying to create kind of a high-low concept. You're taking one guy deep and one guy underneath, and make that linebacker have to choose. And then you're picking whoever he doesn't choose and hitting him with the ball.
Absolutely. It goes back to my original comment. No matter what the zone defense is, overload small sections of the field that you think's the weak spot.
Perfect. Let's move on to cover 2 man.
Cover 2 man coverage. Going back to the formation we've been using. Doubles on. Nickel 2-4-5. 2-man under. Oh, picked the wrong play. I apologize, guys. Yeah, and what you're going to want to do with the 2-man under, we talked about it a little bit offline there, CJ. We may have mentioned it in our last video as well. You want to attack a 2-man under. You want to look at the field. You recognize it's 2-man under. Again, we know that because if you look at that left slot, that line is touching his foot. So it tells me he's not playing zone because he's not far enough inside to create separation. He's probably playing 2-man under. 2-man under is basically saying they're taking away the drags and the slants from you. Okay, so the way I would attack this is, first of all, I'm not 100% dead set that it is 2-man under. That they could be sugaring me, they could be disguising, and that one of the safeties could dive into the box post snap. If that's the case, I've got 2 deep routes on the outside. So as soon as I snap the ball, I'm looking, can I go over the top or not? So when I snap, post snap, I'm looking at the safety, CJ. If the safeties stay at home and they're playing deep, now my immediate read goes to triangle or X. You can adjust this stuff on the fly depending on what the user is doing against you as we go. But in this regard, to attack a cover 2-man defense, specifically an under, I want to stretch the field. I want to get the entire defense in man coverage going away from the ball and preferably flipping their hips, and then I'm going to attack underneath it. So let's see what we do here. Look at how open that is. See how they stretched the field, cleared everything out? There's no way that nickelback's going to be able to keep up with that double move. And you started this video by asking about that double move. That's a perfect example of it. He may cover that quick slant, but he's not going to cover that second move. That's just too long for him to have to commit and cover. Again, you snap it, the safeties drop back, we're rolling right, boom. That's all day long against a 2-man under.
Let me ask you another question. So is when they're in a man defense, is that a good time to run the ball, or do you stay away from running the ball when they're in a man defense?
It's a great question. In the past, I have made decisions like that. Now it's a numbers game for me. In this regard right here, if I come to the line of scrimmage and it's first down, I may stay with the run simply because I've got the numbers. Now, something else that I do in my franchise mode is I love drafting large wide receivers and converting them to tight ends, and I also like using good blocking tight ends on specific passing formations to run the ball because I want to force them into a passing type formation. So in this regard right here, if I had my Colin Johnson out of Texas, I drafted him this year. This is from my CFM guys, so we're in like year 2 or 3. If I put Colin Johnson, who's my tight end, in this slot on the left, then he would have the blocking advantage over this nickelback. In that regard, I would probably try to run the ball. But it's a numbers game, to answer your question.
Sure.
The slot receiver should block the nickel, and then you've got 5 offensive linemen plus a tight end, which is 6. You've basically got 6 on 6 there, leaving the running back by himself or recognizing who's block shedding and get away from him. So a lot of times you'll be able to run the ball here. That's going to be your big advantage. Now, again, it just gives you options. Why do you have that option, CJ? Simply because pre-snap we read 2-man under, and those safeties are so far off the ball they don't even contribute to the run fit at all. So yeah, that definitely leaves you a big gap there to try to run the ball. Not going to work all the time. A lot of people go, I can't get the running game going. The running game doesn't work. Dude, if you get 4 yards, that's a success in the NFL. A lot of guys are looking for those 15-yard runs from NCAA 14. That's not how Madden 19 works.
For sure. So in short, when they're doing cover 2-man, that's a time when you look to possibly hit a guy over the top because he's going to get by the corner. The other option is you're looking for guys making double moves over the middle of the field, or the guy leaking out to your right, and you're looking for mismatches and trying to make sure that. Is this a good? To me, this seems like a good time to check your matchup with the corners or not the corners, but the wide receivers and who's on top of them, just like you're doing right now.
Right.
And see if there's a mismatch, and that's an area that you want to be eyeballing. Is this
Absolutely.
a good time to do that when you're doing?
Right,
Okay,
and here's the thing too, guys. Just a second ago we showed you a cover 1 defense, but that was a cover 1 that they were playing soft on the outside. If this was a cover 1 defense here, I'm going over the top. As soon as I snap the ball, if one of those safeties rolls into the box, the free safety plays center field, then I'm taking one of these two matchups on the outside. Here's another thing that people have a big misconception of. They would look at this matchup here, CJ, and go, well, that's -1 speed. I can't go over the top there if it is cover 1. No, look at the release. That +7 release is going to give you 5 yards of separation. So if that safety wasn't over the top and I snapped it, then right here, look how much release he had, but the safety's there. So don't necessarily look at the speed. Now, this matchup on the right, that's no good. -13 release and -1 speed, that guy's going to run stride for stride with him. He's not going to get any separation at the line of scrimmage.
Perfect. Good information. All right, let's move on to cover 3.
Cover 3 zone. All right, same look. Again, this is a play that I would not specifically attack a cover 3 with on a regular basis, but we're going to try to keep it simple. Let's go, let's do I guess we'll just do a cover 3. I don't want to go match because I don't want to make it too easy. Let's go cover 3 buzz press here. All right, so we come to the line, right, and we're reading. Now, this is a little bit tricky. Check this out, guys. If you look in the left slot, notice how the line is touching the foot of the defender. Right here, we would think, is this 2-man under? Look, the safeties are on the shelf, right? It looks pretty good. Here's what I want you to key in on now. Look at the far outside receivers. Notice how the line is now touching their left foot on our right side of the screen. You see that, CJ? That tells me something is off. What that's telling me is that corner, that's what you call outside technique. He's giving the inside away. Well, why would he be giving the inside away if there's 2 safeties on the shelf? If there's 2 safeties on the shelf, typically you want to play down and in because that's your weak spot. That kind of tips me that there's something funky going on here. This may be a cover 3 defense. So if I know this is a cover 3 zone defense, which we do, we just pick the play, I like to run against it a lot. It gives you that same matchup that we just talked about. You play the numbers game, we're good to go there unless that slot just blows up the receiver in the slot there. So, if you run the ball a lot against this, you're probably going to get a lot of good yards running against a cover 3 zone with the safeties on the shelf. Now, if I'm going to attack it in the passing game, this is a little bit tricky. This is where you've got to really read. Now, the fact that corner is over top of square is playing outside technique, I'm probably not going to try to go over the top. He's going to run with him stride for stride because he's covering deep down the sideline. So I'm going to go to this crosser, and this is where you might want to mix in a little bit of drag. And now, why do you do that? If you think of a cover 3 defense, a cover 3 zone, remember, a zone defense attacks small parts of the field that are their weak spots, overload those parts of the field. I'm trying to attack these 2 inside linebackers for the most part. Now, that deep crosser may come alive all the way through the play, right? But I'm going to give myself some options across the middle. If that inside linebacker on the right side of the field, not the one with the M over his head, but the one beside him, if he drives on that flat, then I'm hitting square across the middle. Now, if the circle clears out that corner on that side, I may have that crosser. So it's all about options. Now, this is, guys, you got to pay attention. You've got to look and go, is the pass rush coming free? If they are, you got to get rid of it to X or square quick. But if you've got good protection, survey down the field. See if circle stretches that corner out enough to hit triangle. If not, then check it down. So it's kind of like a 2-read system. I'm looking, got plenty of protection, going to clear it out. Nice little gain there, cover 3. So again, zone defense, we're overloading small weak spots of the field.
So what it looked like to me is you're creating a high-low over the middle of the field and attacking it once they are getting in between the zones. Is that pretty?
Absolutely.
Now, okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, if this guy was playing soft over square, I would leave the post intact because now the attack, or now the potential attack comes on the free safety, because we might be able to hammer that post. But that tells me that post isn't going to be there, because the safety's going to be at home and the corner's on his outside shoulder. It's almost a double team on square, really.
Gotcha. So a couple good tips there. So high-low over the middle is a good way to attack it, and running the ball is a good way to attack it. Is there any other weak spots that you would try to exploit against the cover 3? Or are those the two main ones that you hit?
Yeah, this particular cover 3, that's all. That's what I would do. Now, again, if those corners are playing 10 yards off the ball, 8 yards off the ball, you've got a shot of hitting an out route. But it being Madden 19 and how things change this year, I don't trust it. If I do not want to ever take a chance and say, okay, I don't know how that corner is going to react to that route. He may jump it. That's you never want to be thinking like that. You always want to be protecting the football.
And the closing time in Madden 19 is ridiculous. I mean, they can be 10 yards off the ball and get there.
Absolutely. And I'm telling you guys, the key to, if you watch every user game, if you watch the CPU games, the key to winning football games in real life and in Madden is turnover differential. You know, Bill Parcells said it. I believe it was, if you have +1 turnover, differential with the other team, you've got a 75% chance of winning. If you got a +2, it's like 83%. If you got a +3, it's like in the 90s. So you want to protect the football. You've got a lot of guys go, oh, why ain't they going down the field? They're playing the numbers. Which would you rather have? A shot of a pretty touchdown pass that's just one random big play, or would you like to have 75% chance of winning the ball game? It's all about protecting the football. So you just got to be careful and know what you're doing there. Now, right there, I could have went to
all of us that are throwing 4 interceptions a game are really decreasing our chances. Is that what you're saying?
Big time, dude. I'm telling you right now. I've been there. I'm not perfect, and I get frustrated and do it too. But that's the key to winning.
That's one of the reasons that we're making these videos, is to help the guys, because I'm one of them that likes to throw some interceptions, and I'm trying to read defenses and figure out how to attack them. So this is good information. So. One of the things I was going to ask about cover 3 is when you did it on one of the others, but you're creating that high-low over the middle. If you're playing another user and he is just hell on wheels with his middle linebacker covering that stuff, I mean, it's sometimes that stuff over the middle, that high-low stuff in the middle doesn't work. Are you just waiting until they get out, outside before you make that pass, or are you adjusting what you're trying to do?
Yeah, it's tough because you can't. It's one of the reasons why I don't like user lurking in Madden. Like I don't. It's the most unrealistic thing in the world. You're never going to find a game of football where the coach says, "Okay, you go out there and do whatever the hell you want to do. Forget your assignment this time." Now, yeah, there's option aspects to it, but again, overload it. If somebody's using that mic right there, imagine you're controlling that mic, the guy with the M over, okay? I want you to think, okay, you're playing defense here, CJ. What are you going to cover when I snap the ball? Cover it, okay. Probably looking at triangle. Look at that overload. Like, you've got to overload him. Another thing you can do, too, which is something that a user didn't do the other night, and I was screaming about it online, you got to change it up, is attack the flats. If somebody's usering with the linebacker, hold him at home with all this freaking mess right here, triangle and square coming across the middle, and then look at R. Now, he might not be completely open in the flat, but you can get out here and make stuff happen. And this is on all Madden. Yeah. So just keep that in mind. And I would say you could attack it to the right, but you've already got the flat there with X. So that's just too many people in one spot, Another thing you can do too, look at this. Try to get him to commit to triangle, and then send that guy down the field. If he's using that linebacker that's on the right side there, not the M, but the one beside him, you might be able to imagine if he dives right there, that's going to leave so much open. Look at this. So just overload him.
Awesome. I love it. All right, let's move to cover 4. You said that in the other video that this is a very, very tough defense for you to play against. So I'm looking forward to hearing how you attack it.
Awesome. All right. Well, the big thing for me, the reason it's tough is because the cover 4 beaters, like this play that I'm showing you with this deep crossing route, it will beat a cover 4, but typically I'm in a spot where it's 3rd and 17, and you get a little too aggressive, right? And you throw right into the teeth of the defense. But when it comes to a cover 4, let's go cover 4 quarters here. The thing that I struggle the most with is if you looked at that play call I just called, there's only 3 underneath zones. And I play on all Madden with the sliders cranked up a little bit harder. it just seems like those guys cover the entire field underneath with just 3 zones, and that shouldn't be the case. But it is what it is. That's the reason I struggle with it. So the way I would attack a cover 4 is I'm looking at that post. I'm probably going to keep that post on the left side intact just in case it's cover 3, in case I miss my read. Again, we know this is cover 4, so we wouldn't call that. So what I would probably do is another combination here of underneath. Now, what you're trying to make happen here is circle clear the defense out. You've got X underneath as an option. That's kind of your initial plan here. So let's give it a go here. Snap. Nice chip block. Now look at that. See how it cleared out there, CJ?
Yep.
So essentially,
X was open too for just a minute. So
yeah,
that underneath route was there, and that deeper route was there. That was great.
Right. It's like there's like a little bit of a delay there that the defense has to adjust. Now, you want to treat it like a 2-man under. Remember earlier I said I think this is 2-man under, and you said I think it's cover 4. Both of those with this specific play call is treated exactly the same way. You're trying to stretch the field to clear the path for that deep crosser. Now again, a user could grab a safety or an inside linebacker and take that crosser away. Let's say that linebacker on the right side there next to the M, let's say that he usered and took away that crosser. Then if you see him doing that during the game, imagine he's deep right there. Imagine how open square is going to be right there because he's down the field.
Yeah.
You know, and it just gives you a lot more options.
Perfect.
So, yeah, that's how I would attack a cover 4. Very, very similar to a cover 2 man. You don't want to throw an interception, but you want to give yourself an option for a big play. That's how I would attack it.
So you're basically the flats are going to be open in a cover 4. And, you know, obviously you talked a little bit ago about, you know, getting 4 or 5 yards and getting, you know, moving the ball up the field. But there's also, looks like you're creating a little bit of a, you know, you got some crossing routes over the middle that can be open if you get in between the zones. So those are 2 things that you're kind of looking for. Yeah, and it really comes down to the situation that you're in the game. You know, what's the score? If I've got a 20-point lead, I might take a shot with that deep crosser as opposed to the flat. If it's a close game, I may. Now look, see how he hugged up to the flat there? That's what's going to determine whether you throw the crosser or not. Your read is the flat, basically. You're coming out. I'm doing a little bit of adjusting here for protection. I'm telling the running back to stay in. I don't want to play action here. All right, I'm sliding the protection to the right because, if anything, I'm rolling right. You got to look at the pass rush, too, on the right side there over top of X. So what I'm looking at is the flat open? If the flat's not open, did circle clear triangle out enough? If it didn't, guys, it's always an option to throw the ball away, and you're out of the pocket by rolling right here. Yeah, and you're essentially creating a high-low with your 2 outside receivers too. So I mean, you got some depth, and you're looking for the guy that opens up. And looks like in this particular formation with this particular defense, that underneath guy does. But I've seen a lot of times where that safety will bite on the underneath guy, and you can hit that deep guy too. So right. And now, did you notice the play before that? How inaccurate that pass was? It happens with Aaron Rodgers too, guys. That's football. You got to understand that if someone has a lifetime completion percentage of 68%, that's not just all drops. That means that literally 7 out of 10 passes, roughly, out of 10 passes are accurate. 3 of them might be inaccurate, or at least 1 or 2 of them are. It cracks me up when guys get frustrated when their quarterback's inaccurate. That happens in football. You just got to be willing to go, damn it, I just missed that throw, and I got to punt, play field position, and get it back. I always want to mention that because people, guys get frustrated and they argue with the devs over that stuff, and I'm like, no, that's realistic. Like, even Peyton Manning missed passes, and he's one of the most accurate quarterbacks in history. So that's a good tip, because I'm the guy that gets frustrated. I'm the guy that gets pissed. Oh man, he's wide open and he misses it by 10 yards. You're like, what in the world? So that's a good tip. That's a good. We've all been there, man. We've all been there. But this year in Madden, they haven't done that before. It's kind of like the inaccurate pass has not been a real thing in Madden. Right. But it's definitely a thing this year. So that's a good point, and maybe it'll help keep my blood from boiling the next time I miss a pass. So, all right, let's move on to cover 6. All right, let's do it. This is going to be a similar approach to what we did with the cover 4, simply because we've got to recognize pre-snap that it's a cover 6, and then we've got to make sure that corner on that side attacks the flat. Again, it comes down to patience. If you take your time and read it correctly, then you can beat a cover 6. Sometimes my
post-snap or my pre-snap reads don't make it all the way to the 6 side, and that can be that can cause some big problems. So let me find that. There it is, cover 6. All right, so we come out. Run and play, obviously. We recognize the far left corner is playing off the ball about 10 yards. The right corner is playing about 5 to 8 yards off the ball. That tells you that probably a cover 6. We're going to attack it the same exact way. I've got this right here. Again, I may go to the post. I may just create an underneath drag. It depends on how you want to approach it. But my read is now going to become, what is that corner doing over there? Because the reason that I struggle with a cover 6 is that corner at any point can just jolt up the field and cover this deep crosser, okay? And it just seems so random sometimes too, especially on all Madden. So again, my read is going to be that deep crosser. Once he gets to the end of his route, I've got X as a safety valve, and I can throw square on a drag if I want to. So the cover 6 side, the underneath side is on the right side. You can see that pre-snap. We go, roll out right here, probably going underneath. Now, this is one of those glitchy situations where X didn't release. I don't know if you noticed that, CJ, but he just kind of stayed in and blocked like an idiot. That creates a big problem against a cover 6.
So when you see a cover 6, do you normally try to attack the cover 2 side, or do you try to attack that cover, the other side? I guess it'd be cover 3.
Yeah, again, it comes down to the spot in which you're at in the game. If this is if I've got a 20-point lead, I'm probably going to try to attack the cover 6 side. Okay. Now, if it's if it's a close ball game, then I may try to attack the cover 3 side. How do we attack the cover 3 side? We have a drag underneath option, but we're still looking at triangle if at all possible. So we snap it. He clears. Rope. They played that perfect shot. That was a bad read. I could have went to the flat there. The flat was open there. So again, your option's going to become. Let's see if we can hit the post. Nope, it's not there.
Yeah, so you kind of will depending on the point of the game will make a choice, like which I might attack the cover 3 side, or I might attack that cover 2 side. So
right.
I mean you depending on the point of the game, you will adjust your game plan. You don't necessarily always attack, let's say, the cover 2 side.
Absolutely. And you just seen just then that, notice how the corner just picked that off, but that time it was open. It's so random. The defensive call isn't different. It's just kind of what the CPU wants to do to you. So there's no way of knowing exactly what he's going to do. I'm going the safer route. I'm snapping it, looking, okay, yeah, everything's kind of snug. Let's dump it off and pick up 4 or 5 yards. Now, again, if I see cover 6 and knowing that I don't like the fact that I can't predict exactly what that corner is going to do on that side, sometimes what I might do is just lean on the run anytime they show a cover 6. Take what they give me.
There you go.
The screen passes are so iffy this year. How do you feel about the screens this year, CJ?
I think they've been jumped, honestly.
Like just then, we had all the numbers game on the right, and my halfback got hung up, and then after I threw it, it was like it took the quarterback too long to throw it. It's just, yeah.
I can't run a screen pass out of shotgun.
Yeah.
Because it just seems like he gets bumped and he doesn't get turned in time. So that's kind of been my take.
I'm with you. I've taken it completely out of my playbook for the most part. When I don't call it. It's still one of my audibles, but I don't call it.
Yeah. Very good stuff. Let's wrap this up. This was good stuff. I think people are really going to be helped by this video. So, cool. Hopefully, guys, this helps, and we will talk to you soon.